Shouto was never one to use his quirk outside of battle unless the situation truly called for it. Now in his third year of UA, he wasn't keen to use his quirk all willy-nilly. His goal mattered too much to him to get in trouble for unsociated quirk use. He's garnered enough attention from his first year when it came to using his quirk, and truthfully, he wanted a break. Through the years, he earned himself quite a following. For doing what? He didn't know. It was as though the adoring fan of his had come out of nowhere, spreading all over the school overnight. Of course, he knew a majority of the crowd that followed him were in because they thought he was attractive in some way. At least, that's what Ochako had told him when he openly pondered about it after getting swarmed. "Can't speak for all of them," she said, tapping her bottom lip in thought, "but I'm pretty sure all of them just think you're cute." Her round face had turned a slight pink at her word, but she dismissed it with a shrug. "I guess they aren't wrong, but..." When her eyes trailed over to their mutual green-haired friend, Shouto snorted. "Don't fret. I know your type is guy with curly hair and freckles." "What are you talking about?" A deep, short chuckle came from the half-and-half male as he made his way to the dorms. The moonlight shone down on him, the soft blue glow of the celestial body giving everything a solemn hue to it. Crickets resonated into the silence of the night, chirping away to their delight. Shouto allowed his shoulder to relax as he stepped down the path, shoving his hand in his pockets. He rested his eyes for a second. He always loved the serene quietness of the night, a time where no one could... Someone gasped nervy. Heterochromatic eyes shot open in alert, body tensing as he tried to seek out any possible danger. To his surprise, there wasn't any danger inside. No one at all, actually. There was only one thing seemingly out of place. It was right in front of him. Holding a stack of textbooks higher than your head, you struggled to walk. Keeping your eyes on the highest book, you tiptoed carefully down the market path as you tried your best to keep the expensive school books from falling. Sticking your tongue out in concentration, you didn't notice the slight dip in the path in front of you. Not until you stepped right into it. The sudden change in height surprised you, a clipped gasp escaping the back of your throat as you stumbled forward. Swearing aloud, you held the books tightly in an attempt to keep them peeled high. Unfortunately, you had gained too much momentum in that simple step, and the top 3 books came falling down. Before you could even react, a cool rush of hair flowed around your bare legs, making you shiver. Picking from behind the remaining books in your arms, you were surprised to see Shouto standing before you. A thread of eyes had traveled from his right leg before fanning out above the ground, a mere foot away from you. The textbook that had fallen were rested carefully atop of the bed of eyes, unmatched. Your eyes met his, your shock mirrored in his own eyes. He clearly hadn't meant to activate his quirk, especially not for something as small as a few books. Setting down the book beside you, you offered him a sheepish smile, plucking the books out of the eyes. "Thank you so much, Todoroki." You breathed it out, as I would have my head if I returned any of the books scratched up. Shouto blinked, slightly squinting his eyes. You looked familiar to him, but he had no clear recollection of who you actually were. A UA student, clear from the uniform you wore, but other than that, he really didn't have a clue. Silence had filled the air once more. Even the cricket seemed to pause. Clearing your throat, you smiled again before hastily picking up the books. Avoiding his gaze, you thanked him quickly before brushing off as fast as you could with the pile of textbook. Shouto simply watched as your figure got smaller and smaller as you neared the main building. Oh, hold. Truth be told, Shouto forgot about you almost immediately. You were no longer the girl with the textbook in his mind, but only a faint memory, despite the lack of time that passed. A week later, he was fully immersed into his study and training, the thought of you long gone. You had been training outside with the rest of your class when you saw the hero to be again. During a break, You wandered off to get water, unaware of the surrounding, as you bounded toward the water fountain in exhaustion. Sweeping your hand over your gym clothes, you attempted feebly to get the dirt off. You set your gaze on the water fountain instead in the wall. You parched throat arch and screamed for water as you neared. Before you could even reach the fountain, your finger inches away from the water trigger, it exploded. It just exploded. A scream ripped from your dry throat as you drop away from the flaming piece of burnt plastic that had once been the relief that your body craved. You stared at the small flame, unsure of whether you were in awe or scared shirtless. You should improve on your aiming. You heard a voice nervy. You missed me by landslide, Bakugo. The cool voice sounded familiar to you as you snapped your head out, tearing your gaze off of the melting water fountain. The sight of two boys walking towards you, who you easily recognized as Todoroki Shouto and Bakugo Katsuki, made your heart leap into your throat. Shut the fuck up, icy hot bastard! Swallowing thickly, you moved to walk away before they could notice you. But it was too late. Shouto and Cormine and gray-eyed irises had already laid their strong gaze on you, making you freeze on the spot. Oh, he mumbled. It's you. Katsuki's eyes follow his classmate, sitting on your slightly shaking form. Under his breath, he looked away. After using his quirk to put out the flame, Shouto turned to Katsuki with the smallest amount of amusement flickering in his eyes. You would have missed it if you weren't staring. You destroyed school property and almost hit another student. You should apologize, Bakugo. Katsuki snapped his head toward the other male, his eyes narrowing into angry slits. Shut it! He scrolled. I ain't blind. I know what I hate. Maybe so, but you were blindsided enough to miss me. I'm gonna fucking kill you! You blink in complete shock. Yes, you heard story of the two going at each other throughout, but you didn't think they were as true as it was. Friends bickered and rivaled sometimes, but to see it in person was on a different playing field. It was as though you weren't even standing there. They continued back and forth like that for a while, a feeling bubbling away in your stomach as time went on. Before you could stop yourself, you laughed. A small, short-lived laugh, but it was enough to gain attention of the both of them. Eyes darting from Shouto to Katsuki, you silenced quickly. Sorry. You chuckled. It's just... you guys are just like the story. What was that shitty girl? Katsuki's voice dripped with contempt as he crossed his arms, his crimson gaze looking at you. The fuck you mean stories? Well, everyone in my years talk about your class. Sure you know that already, but you guys are practically celebrities. Clasping your hand behind your back, you stepped away. Lots and lots of story go on, especially about you two and, you posed. Midori, I think it was? Another step backward, and you awkwardly wave. I have to get going, you drawl, taking one last glance at the ice-covered wall. The smell of burned plastic still made you crunch up your nose. See you later! You quickly squared off, trying to get your mind off of the intense look you got from both of them. Surprisingly, you saw Katsuki again the same day. Exams were coming up, and you were in desperate need of some studying. You silently cursed yourself for leaving it so last minute as you pushed open the library door, stopping only to greet the kind librarian who stood tiredly behind the counter. The library was packed. Not that you were surprised. You weren't the first one thinking to study at the command center. Your eyes filled over the busy room, scanning over to your classmate's head to try and find an empty seat. You deflated slightly, not finding a single spot. Your room was always an option, but you usually found yourself getting distracted in there. About to turn away and give up, your gaze landed on a long table pushed away in the corner. A small gasp escaped your rounded lip as your leg subconsciously dragged you over to the corner. It wasn't completely inhabited, with one familiar male seated in one of the two seats. Your voice was quiet and sure. May I sit here? Red eyes met yours and you almost turned on your heel right there. You know Katsuki was intimidating, but being so close only reminds you of the fact. To your surprise, he didn't say anything and only clicked his tongue. It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a no either. So you promptly unpacked your book across the room. It wasn't a huge table, but it was enough space for the two of you to comfortably sit in silence. No more than 2 seconds later, you felt a blistering warmth in front of you. When you looked up, you were surprised to see Katsuki's notebook on fire. What? Before either of you could do anything, a sheet of ice covered the book, quickly setting the fire out. Shouto looked at you for a second before turning to Katsuki. That's the second time today. Is your Quirk malfunctioning or something? Katsuki jumped out of his seat, and you swore you saw a vein pop out of his forehead in annoyance. Wanna say that again, fucking icy hot? I said, I fucking heard you the first time. But you told me to shut the fuck up before I kill you. You stared at the interaction, feeling awkward just sitting there. You looked down at your notes, but it wasn't that long before you were looking up again. The two were conversing quietly, surprisingly, and you blinked in surprise when Shouto pulled up a chair. Katsuki seemed to be as surprised as you. Who the fuck invited you? You aren't the only one who wants to study. Shouto merely shrugged. Beside, the other tables are full. So's this one? Shouto turned to you, making you sit up at straighter. Is it okay with you if I sit here? He stopped, suddenly raising that he didn't have your name. Ignoring the way you heard Race, you nod. I'm listener, and it's fine. Why are you fucking asking me for permission, bastard? And just like that, you find yourself studying with two of the 3 most popular students at UA.